David is a young man who, regrettably, had to struggle to survive because of the circumstances of his birth. He became enraged at the world, the system, and the numerous people who made it their goal to constantly remind him of his lower status as a result of his difficult life. Despite this, David remained a kind and compassionate person who constantly watched out for others, especially those who were in extreme need of defense. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is a science fiction action-adventure television series that Rafal Jockey created. The story of the anime, which is based on the open-world role-playing video game Cyberpunk 2077, centers on David Martinez, an apparently regular teenager who discovers a military speedware. He decides to use it himself after a terrible tragedy, which attracts the attention of mercenaries, rival organizations, and a mysterious girl named Lucy. David quickly discovers that he must train to be an edgerunner or a cyberpunk if he wants to survive. Here is everything you need to know about how Cyberpunk Edgerunner ends its first season. Before I start, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Major spoilers ahead if you have not watched season 1 yet. Together with his mother Gloria, who is an emergency medical technician, David lives in Arroyo, Night City in Santo Domingo. The mother and son reside in Megabuilding H4's apartment. Gloria has a hard time keeping David, a straight-A student, enrolled in Arasaka Academy, a megatech company called Arasaka's educational system. After using a fake wreath update to damage the academy's data and hardware, David is expelled from the academy. The gang randomly begins shooting at their car as he and an irate Gloria are driving home from their meeting with the principal. Gloria sustains critical injuries in a collision. Gloria eventually dies, not because her wounds were incurable, but rather because David lacked the resources to pay for her treatment. Additionally, a classmate who is the son of an executive at Arasaka beats him up. David, who is upset with everything, persuades his friend Doc to give him the speedware he discovered among his mother's possessions. The speedware is an operating system that slows down time for a specific amount of time and is of military-grade technology called Sandevistan. With it, he exacts revenge on the cruel classmate and meets Lucy, a netrunner. David feels an instant attraction to Lucy, who takes advantage of this and gives him to her Edgerunner mercenary team, which is led by a man named Maine. David learns that Gloria was collaborating with Maine and his team and that the Sandevistan, which she obtained from a cyberpsycho, was meant to be sent to the Edgerunners. David tells the crew what happened to his mother and eventually joins them. David finds out that Maine and his Edgerunners works for a fixer named Faraday. It makes sense that he works for someone else because fixers, by definition, don't work for themselves. Maine, his lover Dorio, and his second-in-command are all killed in episode 6. David is prompted by this to take the helm of the Edgerunners. By that time, he has additional hardware mounted on him, including the projectile launcher that was originally Maine's. The team is in shock after a betrayal in the season finale titled, My Moon My Man. David starts to think Lucy is dead. David challenges the power of the Arasaka Corporation while wearing a cyberskeleton. Unbeknownst to him, Arasaka has sent an Atom Smasher, their go-to weapon against any kind of resistance. Since the Edgerunners in the series live on the cutting edge, the term Edgerunner is slang for cyberpunk. The technologically advanced world around the cyberpunks has completely engulfed them. They typically reside on the wrong side of the law and have multiple pieces of hardware installed. Megacorporations don't typically employ them, but there are exceptions like Maine's crew. As mentioned earlier, Gloria obtained the Sandevistan speedware from a cyberpsycho who was suffering from an overload of cybernetic implants, also known as cyberpsychosis. Maine dies in this manner. David doesn't have his own goals, Lucy observes in the series, and he frequently adopts the desires of those who are close to him. When Gloria was still alive, David was happy to fulfill her wish for him to succeed and advance to the executive level of the Arasaka Tower. When David assumes control of the Edgerunner crew, he adopts Maine's desire to keep his team safe and elevate them to the top echelons of Night City's mercenary organizations. David adopts Lucy's dream toward the end of the series as he begins to disintegrate due to the extensive cybernetic installations on his body. He does everything in his power to keep her safe so she can realize her dream of visiting the moon. Faraday initially works for Arasaka's adversary company, Militech. An even more groundbreaking cyberskeleton than Sandevistan has been created by Arasaka. Faraday and Militech are pursuing this. Following Maine's cyberpsychosis-related murder of Tanaka, the father of the aforementioned classmate of David, Arasaka's elite MaxTac unit executes him. Lucy infiltrates Tanaka's mind just before he dies, and what she discovers there frightens her. Lucy stops going to the jobs after David takes over the crew and instead stays at the apartment she now shares with David. She nonetheless keeps looking for more data on cyberskeletons, even at home. When Arasaka approaches Faraday with the offer to switch sides, they lay out two requirements. He must give up the Netrunner who is still infiltrating their system and get rid of everyone who is aware of the cyberskeleton. Kiwi, a crew member and Lucy's mentor, serves as the lure used by Faraday to entice Lucy. The trap for David and the rest of the crew is also set by Kiwi. David has started to think that he is unique ever since he started taking Sandevistan. And it appears that Arasaka concurs with him. The entire trap was set up by Faraday and Arasaka to coerce David into using the cyberskeletons against Amilitic agents. However, Atom Smasher, a full Borg solo, mercenary and assassin, is called in when things get out of hand and David begins to turn into a cyberpsycho. For Smasher, the cyberskeleton suit was initially created. Kiwi is killed by Faraday. Another crew member, Becca, also dies. When David and Arasaka operatives clash, Faraday and two of the company's top executives are killed. David, however, cannot compete with Smasher. Before Smasher kills him, he makes sure Lucy has fled. Lucy was raised in a different nation at an Arasaka facility. She was trained to work for the most powerful megacorp in the world one day as a netrunner, a hacker with cybernetic implants in their bodies. Lucy eventually managed to get away and locate the Night City. Her life was changed by the Arasaka experience. She keeps urging David to discover his own purpose and stop living according to someone else's for this reason. For Lucy, visiting the moon has always been her aspiration. The moon has been converted into a human colony in the Cyberpunk 2077 world, albeit with mixed results. Even though Lucy is fully aware of what it is and concurs with David's assessment that it is a prison camp, she thinks it is still preferable to Night City. David and Lucy start dating as the series goes on, and they decide to travel to the moon together. David starts to suspect that he might not live very long, though, as the season comes to a close. Even a gifted young man like him is gradually becoming overwhelmed because of the numerous installations he has put himself through. David confronts his mortality once more during a confrontation with Smasher and offers his life in order for Lucy and one other crew member to escape. In keeping with the promise she made to herself and David, Lucy divides the money she received with that crew member and uses some of it to pay for a trip to the moon. David begins to withdraw into himself toward the end of the action-packed season, believing that his numerous murders have satisfied his late mother's expectations and that he and Lucy are living a happier, more idyllic life away from all this chaos and suffering. Here, some risky decisions have been made, particularly the choice to have Falco escape with Lucy and franchise fans' favorite Atom Smasher kill David. For a tale that is set in this intensely cynical world, it is a fittingly morbid conclusion. The setting, however, has plenty of potential for numerous additional stories that are similar to it.